Thank you, everyone, and good morning, and welcome to the YI National Conference 2018. Again. As my term as your Deputy Chairman draws to a close, I can honestly say that I couldn't possibly be prouder of what we've all achieved this past year. It has been incredible for YI, for UKIP, and more broadly, for the entire freedom movement across Britain and the world. I remember just over a year ago when I got a Skype call from Nate. I'd just become the Southwest Regional Chairman. I was delighted with myself. I'd just turned 16. And Nate said, "Would you like to be the media officer if I became chairman? Would you like to stand for that position?" I couldn't believe it. I thought that's a massive step up, but somehow he persuaded me. And within a week, Nate's planned deputy stepped down, and I got another Skype call. You can probably tell where this is going. He said, "Reece, will you be my deputy?" I was gobsmacked. Frankly, I thought he was crazy. Perhaps he was. But here we are. The election was probably the toughest week of my life, with thousands, literally thousands, of relentless Facebook arguments, essay-length Facebook arguments, 2 live debates, and more 4 a.m. bedtimes than I care to admit. It was tough, but we did it. We won the election, and that's why this conference is here today. Over the past year since then, I've got to know many of you very well, and I can honestly say that regardless of what the media pretend we are, regardless of what the media pretend young people want, young people care about common sense. They don't care about political correctness. They don't support the EU, and they certainly don't care about Jeremy Corbyn's free stuff. That's not what we want. What we want is common sense. For surely it is common sense for a democratic nation to govern itself without being told what to do by some faceless EU bureaucrats. Surely it is common sense to know who is coming in and out of your own country. And surely it is common sense to promote debate and discussion over violence and intimidation. These are the sorts of things that we set out to fight for. Once the initial internal debates and discussions were had in YI after our elections, and the entire council was elected, we started looking outwards beyond YI, both to the wider community in UKIP, and actually to young people across the country. What we found across the country were thousands, probably millions, of patriotic young people, proud of their country, unafraid to stand up for what they believed in, fearless to fight for their values and their country. However, what we found at the top of UKIP under Henry Bolton was something very different. We found a spineless leader, Henry, who would stand up for absolutely nothing. He didn't have the guts to stand up even for Brexit, let alone against Islamism or for free speech. That's why, within just a month of being elected, we called a no-confidence vote in Henry Bolton in YI. And that vote, 76% of YI members rejected Henry Bolton's leadership. 76% of YI members looked for change because things couldn't continue the way they were going. Our membership fee had increased by 900%. We had been promised during the leadership election that the youth affairs spokesman position would be created, and that position would be given to whoever the YI members elected as their chairman, because it's YI members who deserve that voice. That position would have been amazing had Henry Bolton actually given it. It would have meant that YI members had a real voice and a platform to promote change. It would have meant that individual members of UKIP had a chance to change the country, to change politics in Britain. And it would have meant that in UKIP, we were the only party able to truly speak out to young people. We were the only party giving them a real stage on our platform. And that's something that, going forward, obviously now we've sorted out the whole Henry Bolton affair. I hope going forward, that's something that Gerard and the NEC will reconsider creating that position for whoever the new YI chairman is, because it's so important that young people play a big part in the future of our party. The message that we were receiving across the country under Henry's leadership was that they wanted political representation. They were desperate to join a political party, but UKIP was just too weak for them. Our leader refused to speak out about any of the big issues. He wouldn't stand up for anything. He didn't have the guts to stand up for any policy of UKIP's. Well, he did stand up for one thing, his slightly out-of-touch moral compass, but I don't think we can really count that. But throughout the campaign to remove Henry, it wasn't about his personal life. It wasn't even about his failures as leader. It was about the opportunities beyond Henry. Beyond Henry, we saw the face of another leader, Gerard Batten, who could start change in this party, who brought hope to the members of this party who were so close to leaving, myself included, and I'm sure many of you included as well. We saw thousands of veterans prepared to join this party, take to the streets, and fight for UKIP. We saw levels of support that UKIP members had never considered before, never imagined before. This was all a real prospect under Gerard's leadership. And under Gerard, we could finally, as the People's Army, kick off the people's political revolution. But far above all of the Henry Bolton affair, the biggest moment for me of the past year, particularly in relation to young independents and youth politics, was on March the 11th, 2018. That evening, I read the Sunday Mirror's report on the Telford grooming scandal, the Telford rape gang scandal, in which up to 1,000 young girls were raped, abused, and murdered by evil paedophiles. I was shocked. How could our historically world-leading judicial system allow this to happen? And not just allow it to happen, but be complicit in it happening. How did they get away with it? And I know that I'll be called racist for saying that. I know that I'll be challenged, but I don't care. Because I know that challenging rape is right. I know that if we don't stand up for these gangs, it won't just be the thousands of girls, stand up against these gangs, I should say, sorry. It won't just be the thousands of girls who have been raped, because there will be thousands more. We will all, as a party, be called racist, Islamophobic, hateful, you name it, we will be called it. But the name-calling doesn't matter. They've called us these names for donkey's years. Why should we start caring now? When did it become racist to fight rape? When did it become Islamophobic to fight the torture of our children? Political correctness is a plague upon our society, and until we eradicate its sinister grip, we will never be able to start fighting the most obvious of evils like rape. It is precisely because of these insane, out-of-touch ideas from the establishment that UKIP has the opportunity to do so well in the coming years. We can entirely reshape British politics. We can turn it on its head. And yes, we can drain the swamp. We need to, as a party, we need to start looking at what the British people are hoping for in a leader. What they want is somebody who stands up for their convictions, who stands up for their values, who, regardless of what anybody else thinks, says the unsayable and does the undoable if that is what they believe. Somebody who is fearless and will fight for what they believe in and for their country. That is what UKIP needs to embody, and I'm sure those of you who know me well know where this is going. Perhaps the biggest internal debate we've had since the Henry Bolton affair is whether or not we should admit Tommy Robinson to the party. Now, I'm not going to go on for too long about this because this is the Youth Wing Conference, not the Tommy Robinson Conference. But I did want to give it a mention, because if we are to be that party of honesty and that party of conviction, then we must surely ignore whatever the media and the establishment and Labour and the idiots outside say. Surely we must ignore that and stand by what we believe. And I don't know about you, but I believe in what Tommy Robinson says. And if any of you believe in what he says, we should stand by him. think there might be a little bit of support for that in this room. I will briefly pick up on one point that Ben Walker made in his speech as well. He said that we can't consider Tommy because he's not applied to join. Well, actually, Tommy can't apply to join until the NEC give him some sort of notice that he's able to, because when you apply to join, you have to tick a box that says you've never been a member of any of the prescribed organisations. And as we know, a long time ago, Tommy was. So until the NEC make the first move, he can't apply to join. So that argument doesn't make any sense. But I don't want to dwell on that. To sum up, Gerard has done an incredible job of standing up for these values. And I know in YI, with our chairman Nate, over the last year, and hopefully over the years to come, Nate has done and will do amazing for standing up for these values and what he believes in, and most importantly, our country. I know that as a wider party, we must realise our potential. We must work with Gerard, with Nate, and with all of the YI members as well, who are so keen to fight for what they believe in. We have to get behind Gerard's radical vision for a glorious Britain. Thank you.